Alright, here's our last video on completing the square. So we're going to complete the square on this equation in order to solve it. And notice that this time our middle term is not an even number. So we're going to take half of it, we're going to get a fraction. But what I want you to do is leave it as a fraction. Okay, so x squared minus 9x. Remember, we're going to subtract the 20 over. So we're going to put a plus a blank here, equals negative 20. Complete the square, take half of that number, it's negative, so negative 9 halves, keep it as a fraction, square that, square in the top and square in the bottom, so we have 81 over 4, add it to the other side as well, plus 81 over 4. On the left hand side, whenever we go to factor this, it's x, keep the negative sign, 9 halves, it's the middle term, half of the middle term squared, equals, and now over here on the right hand side, to add these we need a common denominator. So this negative 20, we need a denominator of 4, so just multiply that by 4. It's negative 80 over 4 plus 81 over 4 gives us 1/4. Take the square root of both sides now. X minus 9 halves equals plus or minus, and the square root of 1/4 is 1/2. And then finally add your 9 halves over. 9 halves plus or minus 1/2. Alright, so in this example, we can just go ahead and add these fractions up. So the first answer, 9 halves plus 1/2, gives us 10 halves, which is 5. The second one, 9 halves minus 1/2, gives us 8 halves, which is 4. So here are two answers. What this means is that the original equation could have factored as x minus 5 times x minus 4. If you had recognized that, that probably would have saved us a bit of time. But we were practicing completing the square, so okay. Here's the last one. Solve 2x squared minus 12x plus 7 equals 0 by completing the square. Now, there are essentially a couple of different ways that we can do this. Let's see if I have time to show them both to you. So one thing that we can do is divide everything by 2, just like we did before. But of course we're going to have a fraction here with the 7. It's not really that big of a deal. So take this, divide both sides by 2. And we get x squared minus 6x plus 7 halves equals 0. Now get this constant term over to that side, and we're going to complete this square on the left. So minus 6x plus something equals negative 7 halves plus that same something. Take half of that middle term, negative 3, square it, 9. So I have to add 9 to that side too. The left hand side will factor as x minus 3. Quantity squared is equal to, now we need a common denominator with that, so multiplying that by 2 we get 18 over 2 minus 7 over 2 gives us 11 halves. Now take the square root of both sides. X minus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 11 over 2. Can't have fractions with square roots, so you got to break it up as square root of 11 over the square root of 2. You can't have square roots on the bottom of a fraction, so you have to rationalize it by multiplying by square root of 2 over square root of 2. So you get plus or minus square root 22 over 2. And then finally, add your 3 over, and you get x is equal to 3 plus or minus square root 22 over 2. And that concludes our video series on completing the square. Have a nice day.